Welcome back to Mr. and Mrs. Oxford, the podcast where two native English speakers try to make your English life a little easier, one episode at a time. I'm JD.
And I'm Hazel. And JD. Before we get into today's topic, how was your week?
Not bad. Actually, I had a moment at work that is absolutely perfect for today's episode.
Oh, really? Do tell.
So I was in a meeting, a very serious, very important meeting, and my manager said, "We really need to synergize our workflow going forward." And I nodded. Like I understood completely.
And did you?
Absolutely not. Not even a little bit.
That is such a perfect intro. But first, last week we talked about false friends. Words that look like they mean the same thing in different languages, but actually mean something completely different.
Right. Embarrassed doesn't mean pregnant in English, even though it does in Spanish. Sensible means reasonable, not sensitive. Sympathetic means you understand someone's pain, not that you like them. These little traps that can really catch you off guard.
If you missed that one, go back and listen. It is genuinely one of our favorites. But today, we are moving from everyday life into the office. We are talking about workplace English.
How to sound professional. How to communicate clearly with colleagues and managers. And how to survive meetings without nodding along to things you don't understand.
Which, as we have just established, happens to the best of us. Let's get into it.
Let's start with something simple but important. How you greet people at work. Because there is a real difference between how you talk to a close friend and how you talk to a colleague or a client.
Right. If a friend walks in, you might say, "Hey, what's up?" But you probably wouldn't say that to your boss on the first day of a new job.
Probably not. No. So some solid professional greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, or simply, hello. Clean, polite, professional.
And then there's the slightly warmer, but still professional. "How are you?" Or, "How's your day going?" These are safe. Everyone understands them.
And here's an important cultural note. In many English-speaking workplaces, especially in the UK and the US, these greetings are often just ritual. You say, "How are you?" and the expected answer is "Good, thanks, you." It is not an invitation to share your full morning.
Which took JD a while to figure out.
It did. Someone would ask, "How are you?" And I would think, "Oh, wonderful. They want to connect." And they were already walking past me before I finished the sentence.
Okay, let's talk about meetings. Because this is where workplace English really matters.
Here are some phrases that will genuinely make your professional life easier. First one. Could I add something? A polite way to join the conversation when someone else is speaking. Much better than just interrupting.
Another good one. Just to clarify. Perfect when you are not sure you understood something correctly. Just to clarify. Are we talking about the end of this month or next month? Polite, professional, incredibly useful.
Here is one Hazel uses all the time. Could you say that again? Or, sorry, could you repeat that? People appreciate honesty far more than someone nodding along and then doing completely the wrong thing.
Always. And here is a slightly more advanced one. Can we take this offline? This means, let's talk about this separately, not in this meeting.
Meetings can get derailed when two people go deep into a topic that only they care about. Can we take this offline? Is the polite way to get everyone back on track.
And finally, the classic. Let's circle back to that. It means, let's return to this topic later.
Which professionally means exactly that. In practice, sometimes it means, we will never discuss this again. But let's be optimistic.
Diplomatically speaking.
Now, the fun part. Corporate buzzwords, the words and phrases that seem to multiply in offices like rabbits.
Like synergize our workflow. Let's decode a few of these.
First, let's leverage this. Leverage means to use something to maximum advantage. So let's leverage this data means let's use this data effectively. Simple.
Then there's bandwidth. In technology, it's about data transfer. In an office, I don't have the bandwidth for that means I'm too busy, I don't have time for this. Very useful phrase, actually.
Next, going forward or moving forward. This just means in the future or from now on. Going forward, let's send all reports by Friday.
And the king of all buzzwords, synergy. Technically, it means different parts working together to produce a better result than they could separately. In practice, well,
Nobody is completely sure, but you will hear it. A lot. Now you know.
the important thing is, when you hear these words, don't panic. They usually mean something quite simple. And if you are ever unsure, just to clarify, remember that one is always your friend.
All right. One of the most important workplace skills, saying no politely. Because in many cultures, a direct no can feel rude or too blunt. But in English-speaking workplaces, there are warm, professional ways to decline.
Instead of, no, I can't do that, try, I'd love to help, but I'm pretty stretched at the moment. Honest, warm, and it sets a clear boundary.
Or, that sounds great. Can we look at the timeline? I want to make sure I can give it the attention it deserves. You are not saying no. You are saying, let's make this work properly.
And for giving feedback on someone's work, here is a great structure. You start with something genuine and positive. I think this is really strong. Then you add the suggestion. One thing that might make it even better, and you close positively.
This is sometimes called the feedback sandwich. Positive, suggestion, positive. It keeps the conversation constructive and the other person feels respected,
Which is very different from, this is wrong, fix it.
which is not recommended for many reasons.
Last topic, emails. We could do a whole episode on this alone, and maybe we will, but here are the essentials.
To open a professional email. Dear, name. For formal situations. Hi, name. For semi-formal, which is the most common in modern workplaces.
To close, best regards, or just best, for professional. Kind regards is slightly warmer. Thanks, or many thanks, is friendly and common.
And please, avoid to whom it may concern, unless you genuinely do not know who you are writing to. It sounds cold and distant. If you know the name, use it.
And one golden rule, reread your email before you send it. Not just for spelling, but for tone. Written English can sometimes sound harsher than you intended. If in doubt, add a please or a thank you somewhere.
Small words, big difference.
Okay, quick recap before we wrap up. Today we covered workplace English.
Professional greetings. Simple, polite, and don't overshare when someone asks how you are.
Meeting language. Just to clarify, can we take this offline? And let's circle back.
Corporate buzzwords decoded. Leverage, bandwidth, synergy, going forward.
Saying no diplomatically. And giving feedback with the sandwich approach.
And email basics. Hi name, to open, best regards, to close, and always reread before sending.
Now, your weekly listener challenge.
This week, we want you to use one new workplace phrase. Just one. Whether you're in a meeting, writing an email, or talking to a colleague.
Maybe it's just to clarify. Maybe it's I'd love to help, but I'm a bit stretched. Maybe it's simply starting an email with hi instead of dear sir or madam.
One phrase. Notice how it feels. Notice how people respond. Then come and tell us about it in the comments. We read every single one.
And speaking of comments, thank you so much for everything you wrote in after last week's False Friends episode. So many great stories.
My favorite was someone who told their Italian colleague that something would eventually happen, and their colleague heard eventualmente, which in Italian means possibly, or if necessary. Completely the opposite meaning.
A classic false friend moment. Keep those coming. They genuinely make our week. And if you are enjoying the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review. It means the world, and it helps other learners find us.
That's all for today. Thank you so much for spending your learning time with us.
And should we tell them what's coming next week?
I think we should.
Okay. Next week, we are diving into something that makes English feel truly alive, something that native speakers use all the time, in every conversation, in every situation, and that can make the difference between understanding a textbook and understanding a real person.
Expressions like bite the bullet, under the weather, cost an arm and a leg.
Phrases that make absolutely no sense if you translate them literally, but once you know them, you start hearing them everywhere.
It is one of the most requested topics from our listeners, and we cannot wait.
Join us next week for Mr. and Mrs. Oxford, Episode 9, Idioms in Context.
Until then, keep practicing, keep speaking.
And keep learning. Bye for now.
Bye.